Hello, everybody. So, if you weren't here previously, you'll know that I started a podcast recently about some of my favorite Lazy Town songs. And we have a certain trend going on of probably 8 songs per podcast, somewhere around that approximation, which is, a pretty good pace. And that would mean around 9 videos. It'd be a 9-part podcast, something of that sort. And in the previous one, I was kind of more unscripted, kind of unfiltered, kind of didn't really have any set thing to follow. And that's okay, and that works pretty well. I think in some ways you get a more raw and just straight from the heart type of presentation when you do something like that. But I think that from now on, to really give these songs credit, to give this show credit, and to give my feelings about these songs and everything of that sort of credit, I think I'm going to go with a more scripted and more, written down approach. Right now, I'm obviously relatively unscripted. I have, just some relatively informal notes in front of me as far as introductory material goes. But as far as, kind of song analysis and dissertations of that sort, I have some relatively elaborate notes just so I can really just make sense to you audience members of, why I feel certain ways about certain songs in the series, and maybe have points of agreement, disagreement, and further conversation about it. So anyways, where we last left off, we last left off with Life Can Be a Surprise, which is my 8th least favorite Lazy Town song. So now we're going to go to the next songs. So if you haven't seen the previous video, I would encourage you to refer to that so you can get caught up, and then come back to this video, and we will be going from number 65 to number 58 today. So we'll be going to my 65th favorite, I guess, or in this case, 9th. My goodness, it's confusing because when you say 65th favorite, it just sounds bad. It's like, oh my goodness, that's just horrendous. It's just horrible. 65th place. But hey, I mean, if that simplifies it, I'm gonna say 65th place, and there we go. So at number 65, we have Ghost Stoppers. Now, I've seen a lot of different lists, and a lot of people really like this song. And I can understand why people like this song and kind of the Ghostbusters type of nostalgia it can give. Maybe not necessarily for the primary viewership of this show, because a lot of kids weren't around during the early days of Ghostbusters. But anyways, Ghost Stoppers is from Season 4, Episode 10, and the title of the episode is also the namesake, Ghost Stoppers. So, this one is quite a hit among fans, boasts a decent amount of instrumental variety. So between the usual synths, there's also some orchestral instruments in the beginning to kind of give a sense of suspense, like that da-da-da-dun, catch spooks on the run, almost like Jaws, almost like this kind of like sense of, ooh, something scary is coming. So there's some other spooky elements also played on the keyboard, and the ooh, kind of like a Halloween type of sound, and that kind of reoccurs every now and again, like in between moments of lyrics and singing of that sort. So the chorus does a decent job of kind of contrasting this initial sense of fear that we feel during the verses of the song. And the verses try to be, spooky in a certain way, while the chorus tries to bring about this sense of optimism, like here come the heroes. Stephanie, Ziggy, everybody, they have their Ghost Stoppers goo, and they have all this stuff to keep the ghosts away. So it's like, here we come, it's all good, we're here. And the ghosts are scary, but the Ghost Stoppers are here. So this entrance of the heroes manifests itself via the use of a major key. Now, a major key is a key signature that sounds kind of happy. It's much more lighthearted, and it sounds optimistic as opposed to a minor key. So in this course of the song, to kind of exude that sense of optimism, there is the use of the key signature A flat major, which is the relative major key of F minor, which is the key signature that plays during the scary sounding verses of the song. So, why I have it here, the song itself isn't too bad, and I think it does a decent job of highlighting the fear factor that comes to the ghosts, as well as the flip side of that, being the ghost stoppers. I guess my biggest gripe with the song, though, is that it's overproduced, and this sense of overproduction kind of mainly affects the chorus. The chorus is very explosive, it's bombastic, like melodically, it's catchy and kind of effective in evoking a different mood than the verses, but I think it's just too much instrumental weight and too thick of a texture, and I think it somewhat drowns out the singers. So it's only a small complaint. It kind of keeps me from fully enjoying the song. So the pre-chorus can also be subject to this problem as well, especially since the characters are singing at a lower range, while the instruments are playing at a relatively robust, medium loud dynamic or volume. And additionally, the contrast between the verses and pre-chorus is a bit too stark in terms of the continuity and overall uniformity of the entire song. It works, but a better sense of build-up could have been made to the strongly synthesized chorus, to make the strongly synthesized chorus a bit more convincing. But these are all relatively minor complaints, and we're getting to the point where the remaining songs are, at least, somewhat decent in certain capacities, and a lot of the complaints at this point are going to be kind of smaller minor complaints. So that concludes Ghost Stoppers and my thoughts on it. So at number 64, we have another song from the Chloe Lang era of Lazy Town, and we just kind of, it's just kind of the way it is. Juliana will always be my favorite Stephanie, and those songs will always be my favorite Lazy Town songs for the most part, with some exceptions. So number 64, we have Take It to the Top from Season 3, Episode 4, Scavenger Hunt. So, anyways, so there was a time when this song was amongst my top 5 least favorite Lazy Town songs. It deviates so much from conventional instrumentations and overall style of songs on the show, and it isn't really as accessibly catchy as a lot of different songs in the series. The style of the song is sort of a call and response between Stephanie and the rest of her friends, and the instrumental arrangement is quite sparse. Like there's a very percussive drive to the song, almost like comparable to songs like Playtime or We Got the Energy, where the primary focus is in a beat as opposed to a certain level of melodic or instrumental saturation. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like, there's some songs that kind of work in that way, especially when they kind of rely on a sort of call and response type of style. The instruments in this song are kind of, they're more in the background and take a backseat to the percussive drive. But there is an electric guitar that kind of brings about further momentum, to the verses of the song. And the verses of the song actually have more of a drive than the chorus, which is usually the flip side, because the verses usually are building up to something instead of decreasing to a sort of break of some sort. But in this song, it's kind of the opposite. So during the chorus, we have an acoustic guitar and kind of percussive finger snaps. So instead of, a traditional drum being played, there's finger snaps to start off the chorus. Take it to the top, check, check, and, so on and so forth, and all the other entailments of that song. But the chorus repeats itself, it still has the acoustic guitar, but it has the addition of a piano, giving it a bit of a build-up. It still doesn't have the electric guitars, so, and the initial finger snaps are replaced by a normal drum playing. So, and though it deviates from the usual sound of a Lazy Town song. It kind of gives an opportunity for traditional instruments to really shine, which is one of, I think, the redemptive aspects of the song, and a lot of these instruments being pit percussion instruments, like, the cowbell. You can kind of hear the cowbell even just to start the song, or the unplugged stringed instruments like the acoustic guitar. I used to really not like this song a lot, as I mentioned previously, but it's kind of grown on me a little bit over time. But I think it's peaked here at number 64. And the chorus has some cute lyrics that I kind of like, take it to the top, we put things in motion. Alone we're just a drop, together we're an ocean. It's kind of like, don't really overthink it, but, it's very philosophical. And it kind of drives home I guess, one of the biggest themes of the show, that being friendship and the power of friendship, working as a team, just the power of relationships in general. So it's not a terrible song, but it's number 64. Okay, so at number 63 we have We Love School, or as I always have called it in the past, Time to Learn, but I found out that was an incorrect title for the song. So this song is from Season 4, Episode 5, from the episode Time to Learn. So, as we discussed previously in Ghost Stoppers, there's a certain instrumental oversaturation, kind of in the fact that there's almost too thick of an instrumental texture that kind of permeates just the song overall. And the melodic material, the lyrics and stuff, kind of are drowned out by instrumental noise. Though the instruments are important, they become a little bit loud. And I think that this song is another song that suffers in the same way that Ghost Stoppers does. So the chorus is somewhat obnoxious in this song, as the lyrics can be hard to hear amongst the instrumental noise. The trumpets blare, the synth textures are thick, and the vocals suffer a bit because of it. I mean, the melody is catchy though, which is actually kind of adds to some of the frustration because of the catchiness of the melodic line. We want to hear it more. That line kind of runs through my head, because of that memorability, but because of the oversaturation of the accompanying instruments, it can be a bit overwhelming. So that's one of the strikes against this song. The verses are honestly a bit weaker than the chorus, namely because the verses lack any melodic material. We have a beat playing, and the characters, I guess, quote-unquote rap, if one can really call it that. It's more so just like talking. But the lyrical themes of the verses have to do with mathematical equations, and which is an interesting thing. And with mathematical equations, that can be more fun to like do that kind of in a rap-like style. Like if you just like sing them, it's not as I don't know, it doesn't come across as well. Like when you just like, it's like 1 + 1 gives you 2, 2 + 2 will give you 4. Like that's kind of catchy. That kind of like, there's a groove to it, and it adds to like the memorability of like kids memorizing math problems. Like there isn't an extra melody to memorize, there's just the numbers there, and that can help with kids really memorizing those types of problems. The first time I heard this song, I was actually quite surprised at the fact that Lazy Town divulged into multiplication. This show has among its most ardent viewership, other than adult fans like myself and some others who, really enjoy the show, and teenagers, it's become quite a great show that's been recognized for its merits outside of, just small child audiences, which is great, and I think it's very good for the show. But among its most ardent viewership, I wouldn't expect multiplication to be something that is a part of this song. even going up to 4 times 4 being 16. I didn't know that 4 times 4 was 16 until I was at least like a third grader. I forget the route in which mathematical processes take place, but it definitely wasn't when I was the age of the primary viewership of this show. So I think it's cool that this song kind of divested into some maybe advanced material for the age of its viewership. So, and it's helpful to me because sometimes I forget what 1 + 1 is. Absolutely. I'm a college student, but it's very easy to forget those things, especially with what I'm studying. So, all this being said, this song is a complete mixed bag, and upon further analysis, I may actually rank it lower on a future incarnation of, my list, if such a list ever comes into fruition. I just don't have all that much good to say about this song, musically or otherwise. It could have been better, but overproduction for the instruments makes it suffer a bit, unfortunately. So all that to say, We Love School is relatively mediocre. Alrighty, at number 62, we have Summer is the Season. Now this song is from Season 3, Episode 7, the title of the episode being The First Day of Summer. So this song has been another kind of grower. A lot of these songs have been kind of growers. I was kind of more so ardently against, not really against, but the Chloe Lang era Lazy Town songs kind of took me longer, and still kind of, in a way, take me longer to get into because of just the high caliber of quality that the songs from the first 2 seasons have. So, there's still a lot of time for these songs to grow, and they aren't the songs that are immediately as nostalgic or interesting to me, but they'll get there, and I believe that. And there's definitely a lot of good musical material that's out there in these songs. So, I used to hate this song with the passion of 1,000 burning suns. Like, some songs are catchy in a way that is enjoyable. You love it when such a song runs through your head continuously. It's like, it can run through your head continuously and you don't really mind, but other songs are catchy in the way that they run through your head without ceasing, and they're kind of a nuisance in that way. Summer is the Season can at times fall into that category, and especially in the introductory line of Ba Ba Ba's, and that chorus, fun in the sun, etc., etc., etc. I've grown to enjoy these segments to an extent, though, and it's summer. It's supposed to be fun, and it's supposed to be kind of hokey in that way, but it's not my type of hokey, and sometimes that's reason enough for me to not like it too much. But the song has a fitting instrumentation for its scenery, namely the beach. We have a rock organ, some classic sounding electric guitars, and rockin' drums. The guitars play in that, kind of 60s style rock progression, kind of like the Beach Boys would do in their surfing songs, or it works, but it's not really up my stylistic alley. I'm picky with the Beach Boys, not big on the Beatles, or 60s rock has always been a little bit, 70s and on is the good stuff. But anyways, let's not get too off topic. This song is mid-tempo, upbeat, kind of bringing us to the joys of summertime, and all the fun that lies therein. It does a decent job in dabbling with these 60s rock styles. And I think it's really cool when Lazy Town tries to branch out in terms of musical genres. The results vary sometimes, but oftentimes the results vary mostly on my accord and based off of my preferences, as opposed to the actual execution of the song itself. So most of the time they give convincing portrayals of a genre that they're working with. The lyrics are decent. A lot of these lyrics, Lazy Town lyrics, they're lyrics for kids. Very direct, usually, very concrete. They're just very, just very direct and they just make sense. But there's one line in this song that kind of sticks out to me. I love the taste of summer, sweet as lemonade, and it's sung by Trixie. And it kind of gives a poetic notion to the season as something to figuratively taste, digest, and enjoy. Oof, I'm quite the philosopher, and perhaps I read into it a bit too much, but I find it quite clever, especially for a song from a kids' show. And it fits well with the established rhyme scheme, though, given the previous lyrical material. One wouldn't really necessarily expect figurative language in Lazy Town songs, but I think that's really cool. So this song has just been a grower. I've come to appreciate it for its ability to encapsulate a different genre within the confines of a Lazy Town song. That being, it kind of exhibits the best of the usual sounds of the show with a different genre that they're synthesizing it with. Okay, on to number 61. Let's Go. This is from Season 2, Episode 21, the title of the episode being Sportacus Saves the Toys. So Let's Go is the last Lazy Town song on the Juliana Mariello era of the show. And I can't really, this first gripe is kind of something I can't really necessarily fault the producers for, but it's hard to say if the producers knew if Season 2 was going to be the last season of the show for quite a while. But either way, Let's Go is a disappointment as a finale song, whether it be for a given era of the series or just a conclusion to the season in general. So it makes sense that songs adhere to the thematic material of an episode, this being Sportacus's quest to retrieve toys that Robbie Rotten had stolen from the children of Lazy Town. But even in this way, Let's Go kind of falls flat. So this being said, Let's Go kind of, messes up in two ways. It's kind of a lackluster conclusion as an episode, as a seasonal finale, but it's also kind of a disappointment to the episode itself. And I'll kind of explain why right now. The best Lazy Town songs are the ones that are specific to their episodic material. And what I mean by that is a song like, for example, like 20 Times Time. Like the theme of that episode is brushing your teeth. And the song is 20 Times Time, which is like 20 times up, 20 times down. And that's kind of, it's self-explanatory. And it goes with the content. It goes with the storyline of that episode, and it couldn't really be a song in any other Lazy Town episode, or something like Galaxy, or just anything of that sort, something that really makes sense of the source material of the episode. So Let's Go is a song that could be featured in any Lazy Town episode of any theme because of the nature of the lyrics. It's every episode in this show speaks of the importance of exercise, the importance of movement, getting outside, exerting energy, and so on and so forth. So Let's Go could have been in any of these episodes. And some people would say, well, that just further expresses the versatility of this song. But I don't think that makes the song particularly good, as it doesn't really correspond to the unique theme of this otherwise, I think, really solid episode. I mean, the best lyrical comparison I can come up with to this song is Go For It, which can kind of fall into the same type of category, but at least Go For It had more of a sense of, congruity with the episode than this song. And Go For It is also a far catchier song. Personally, I know people who hate Go For It, hate it, but it's a far catchier song in my book. The music in this song is decent, kind of balancing between the usual synth sound of the Juliana era of Lazy Town and some rock influence as well. Magnus is a really fantastic singer who exercises a wide vocal range and boasts a unique voice, that being his, Icelandic accent, which is pretty cool. But the chorus is melodically bland, comprising of an equal amount of shouting as melodic material, ultimately disappointing me a bit. all this to say, the song isn't too bad, but it's relatively uninteresting and unmemorable in the grand scheme of Lazy Town songs. So it gets a rating of, I guess, blah or meh out of 10. I guess. We're getting to that range where it's not as much dislike anymore as much as it's just like I shrug my shoulders and say, okay, well, it's a song. It's okay. It I guess does what it needs to do. It works, but it's only a matter of time before things get really, really good, and I'm looking forward to that. Honestly, I'm kind of like, oh boy, mediocre songs. Let's dwell on those, but we're going to be getting good soon. So, at number 60, we've got We Got the Energy. And this is from Season 2, Episode 15, the title of the episode being Energy Book. This song... This song's just... I don't really know how to describe it, because there really isn't much here. I can do an adequate job of describing it musically, but how I feel about it is just so blah that I can't think of the words for it. Musically, this song is relatively sparse, so it's not deeply textured or instrumentally thick, and much like Take It to the Top, the percussion is far more noticeable than the melodic instruments and sticks out to my ears first. Though these percussion instruments are primarily rhythmic in their function, there's also, kind of like keyboard percussion instruments like a marimba, which is pretty cool. I played the marimba in my high school marching band, and that was a lot of fun. So it's really cool to hear that instrument being featured in this song, because marimbas don't get too much of a show here in Lazy Town. So that's something good about this song. So the vocals are solid as always from Juliana, and I love her voice, and it's just great. But anyways, this song employs a call and response pattern during the verses, kind of similar to Take It to the Top. And though the pacing of these songs are really different, though, Take It to the Top being much slower and relaxed, this one being very fast, upbeat, kind of frenetic in a way, almost like a salsa type of vibe, not in its sound, but more so in its pace and percussive nature. So in this way, it can be a lot of fun in its simplicity, both melodically and instrumentally, giving us viewers a greater sense of involvement, as Stephanie gives us, instructions about physical activity and whatnot, and dancing, jumping, and things of that nature, getting us lazy viewers of the television show up off the couch, I suppose. So the song is, I think of this song, and maybe it's not the best way to think of it, and that's might be why I've placed it so low on my list. It's almost like one really long break it down section from the Chloe era, from all of Chloe's songs, except this one is much, much catchier than hers, and it isn't quite as like in your face. It's like, okay, here's the bridge of the song, it's going to be exclusively a break it down section. We're going to compromise all musical interest to just say, okay, you got to get up now. This one kind of works it into the musical material, which makes it better. So there's no denying that this song has grown on me, but the caliber of songs to come puts it down here for the time being. In fact, this song's among the worst in the Juliana era of Lazy Town, is more so a testament to the musical quality of the first two seasons of the show, as opposed to a strike against this song in particular. And as I said earlier, we'll be getting to the good stuff soon. But with number 59, we're not quite there yet. Sorry, guys. So, at number 59, we have Man on a Mission from Season 1, Episode 27, the title of the episode being Secret Agent Zero. Man on a Mission sees Mayor Meanswell as an undercover agent, so it kind of gives this song a cool James Bond flair in its music. So if there's a slight pause in between, or a choppiness in between things I was saying, is because is because GarageBand kind of timed out in this recording. So this is the continuation. As I was saying, so that GarageBand doesn't overload somehow this time, Man on a Mission sees Mare Meanswell as an undercover agent, and this song kind of has a James Bond vibe because of it. Mostly in its musical arrangement, it's got classic rock guitars, mute trumpets, saxophones, and a very similar, or I'd wager the same chord progression as the James Bond theme, the da, 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 da. But it's just kind of a different variation of it. All this being said, it would seem that this song can't be a miss. Like, there's nothing that can make this song bad. But here enters Bessie Busybody. My. I mean, she's not really a horrendous singer, but it's just kind of weird hearing her sing in songs. Like, off the top of my head, like, she's featured in songs like in dialogue, like in Sports Candy, like you hear her speak, but she doesn't really sing in any other songs, so we don't really get accustomed to it. And her voice being kind of the centrality of the song kind of just throws you for a bit of a loop. You want to hear Stephanie or Sporticus or Stingy or a character you really know well and that you like. So, but that doesn't really happen here. So Bessie sings all the verses of this song, which is, in this case it's fitting because her man, Mare Meanswell, is kind of the secret agent, in question, which is cool. So one of the redemptive aspects about the song, though, is that Stephanie and the rest of her friends sing the chorus. And this synthesizes the best of the traditional Lazy Town instrumentation with the James Bondy type sounds that are established in the verses of the song. The chorus is upbeat, it's fun, it kind of contrasts the mysterious sounding and, discreet nature of the verses, kind of the shh, quiet. There's a man who's undercover, he's trying to solve a mystery here. But honestly, the best part of the song is Stingy's super killer saxophone solo. It's definitely the highlight. That being said, the instrumentation on this song is stellar, and the song would probably be a bit higher on this list if not for Bessie. And whether it's in the show itself or in just all of the songs, Bessie finds a way to get under all of our skins. Maybe with the exception of some people, we can have a dialogue about it in the comments section, I suppose. But upon further thought, it might not even be her vocals as much as it's just her in general. And to conclude with this song, I would just say the truth hurts, Bessie, but hey, at least your song isn't the worst. So anyways, we now arrive at number 58. And the final song for this particular part of the podcast. So we're at the 8th song of this podcast. So this will be the last song I'll be going through in this particular incarnation of this series. Okay, so at number 58 we have Hey We Play. This is from Season 4, Episode 8. The title of the episode being Wizard of Lazy Town. This song is an exercise in musical contrasts, perhaps more so than any other Lazy Town song. And this is because many of the songs in Lazy Town don't really deeply divulge into stylistic or musical contrasts. What I mean by that is that when a Lazy Town song kind of goes into a contrasting musical genre from its usual sound, it usually kind of sticks to that. It's usually something that's, it's contrasting as opposed to other songs. It's not really contrasting within the song, like presenting two different genres within one song. Maybe not even genres as much as just, different sounds or instrumental timbres or just different instruments or, moods in general. So that to say that Hey We Play really exudes a great sense of this type of contrast, especially in its melodic material, instrumental timbre, that being the sound of the instruments and how they're used, and the overall genre between the verses and chorus of this song. So the verses are sung by Robbie Rotten, though his voice in this particular episode sounds considerably different than usual as part of his wizard disguise. An enduring plotline in this episode, because he's disguised as a wizard who is trying to concoct a potion to make all of the inhabitants of Lazy Town lazy. So during the verses, he switches off between, a very nasal singing voice, kind of high-pitched dialogue to correspond with his disguised voice, and momentary lapses of his normal voice, kind of to highlight a certain diabolical, like I'm still Robbie Rotten, wahaha, type of thing. So the lyrics during the verses fit really well into the sound of the music, and Robbie is trying, to create that potion, as a wizard. So it's, ooh. The instruments during the verses are kind of whimsical in their nature. Like it has kind of like a magical sound. Got the strings, the flutes, and intermingled subtle percussion kind of guiding the song as Robbie traverses Lazy Town to find ingredients for said potion. The first time I heard the song, though, the chorus took me by surprise because it's so different from the verses. We're in a completely different key, and it sounds much happier, much more optimistic. We're greeted by Stephanie singing, kind of subtle harmonies, electric guitars, background synths, and more of a percussive drive. This chorus is extremely catchy, and has quite honestly been running through my head for almost non-stop for about a week now. And the song ends with Stephanie singing a super catchy na 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 line, which also runs through my head quite often. So when I first made this list, I wasn't super huge on this song, but the fact that it's running through my head and I'm not minding, and it's actually a really enjoyable song, I might call for an update at some point in the future. But Robbie's verses are still kind of mediocre, which means that for now I'll leave it here, and any future update to this list I might just say, I'll have Hey We Play up here or something like that. But yeah, so that was a lot, and though I had somewhat of a script in front of me, I still would deviate from things, but it was much easier to stay on topic and express kind of my thoughts about these songs, and I think I was able to say more and pause less and be more direct with things I was trying to say and make sense of some things I was trying to say. So I think I will continue with this way of podcasting, with just kind of a script in front of me and certain words to say, just to give a sense of flow, greater sense of continuity. This is longer than the last one, probably because I was actually able to say more and I wasn't just searching for things to say from my head, but I actually had a lot of things to say because of things I wrote down. So that being said, thank you so much for watching, everyone. And the next installment of this list will come soon. This has been an absolute labor of love for one of the greatest kids shows of all time, maybe my favorite, and I've really enjoyed it so far. So I've put a lot of hard work into this, especially, writing the script for what I'm going to be saying, and a lot of thought has gone into all this. So if you enjoy this video, or just other videos on my channel, and you like my material, just feel free to like and subscribe. So all that being said, have a great day, everyone, and until next time, peace out.